It is 12:59. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The conference realignment arms race continues as Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports reported earlier today that the Big 12 is in, quote, deep discussions to add up to 6 schools from the Pac-12. They are Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Oregon, Utah, and Washington. Big recruiting announcement for Tennessee football on Monday, not long after they missed out on 5-star offensive tackle Francis Mauigoa. The Vols earned a commitment from 5-star athlete Jonathan Eccles out of IMG Academy in Florida for the class of 2024. Eccles is rated the number 4 athlete in his class per the 247 Sports composite. The Braves back at it today at home after a 6-3 win to start a series against the St. Louis Cardinals yesterday. First pitch tonight is at 6:20. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. What's up, everybody? Happy July 5th to you. It's July 5th. Lucas, you see any fireworks last night? Did you go downtown?
I went over to Shelby Park, near where I live in East Nashville. Had a great view of the fireworks.
Boy,
Great show.
Boom, 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 man. I was getting a little nervous. My dog now, he definitely. Is your dog scared of those fireworks?
Oh, yeah, she just goes under the couch.
Most dogs are, right?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Man, my dog, we had to sit there and rub it and calm it down. Yeah, downtown Franklin.
Some handle it better than others. Like
Yeah.
some
No,
you
no,
literally have to medicate.
Oh, no, he's
get
not
through it.
that. He just start going,
Our
Yeah.
previous
I'm like, come
dog,
on,
your
JD.
dog's bigger.
Yeah,
Our previous,
a 30 pounder.
yeah, much bigger than my beast of an
that's what I mean.
8-pound
My
dog.
dog's not big, but I mean, it's a 30
The
pounder.
previous incarnation of our dog is about 10 pounds, and she literally she would like wrap her paws around your head. You couldn't peel her off of you like a cartoon dog on the 4th of July. That was her personal hell. She was not a fan. So we were one like level away from medicating her.
Oh,
But
really?
as long as you hold her, she'd be okay, but you could feel her heart the whole time.
Oh,
And we got some
no.
neighbors that are like,
Yeah, okay. All right, that was my question.
Okay.
Yeah, Lucas, you're a little modern era than us. Is it if you're doing fireworks yourself and yet the fireworks are literally in view of, maybe some downtown city wherever you're at, do you stop doing your fireworks to look at the, I guess, let's say city fireworks that are literally 2 seconds away? I just was like, well, dang, why can't they get and chill for a second? Let's enjoy this moment. But it was like, no. I was like, oh, well, I guess it's not. I didn't want to say, could you stop? Because I wasn't going to do that. But I was like, well, dang, you're kind of messing up the whole ambiance here. Do you think it's right? I mean, people could call in and ask. I don't know what's right. That's why I was trying to ask. Lucas,
Firework etiquette.
where you
Yeah.
just kind of crap all over some, like the
Like,
main thing is
this
going
right
on.
there, it was literally like close, like right there. It looked like it was right above the trees, over yonder, right here. But I don't know. What would you say, Mickey, for our youngster Lucas's opinion becomes out here and tells us that we're ding dongs, or me?
There were so many. We can go to the top of this hill in our neighborhood and see the ones that the town shoots. But there was somebody literally 200 yards away from us blasting his own personal. It was unbelievable.
Oh,
The
I
show
was next door. I mean, it was right next door.
okay.
I was like, well, dang. Okay, it's cool, but I mean, you bought your fireworks. You could play them. I mean,
Yeah, I think people
light
like,
'em and
hey,
let 'em
man,
go.
I spend hundreds on this. When I light the fuse, I'm lighted at dark. So whatever else goes on, you can watch mine or watch
Right.
his. But I'm
Yeah.
going to watch mine.
That's what some people think.
I think it's the wild, wild west with fireworks. The ones in downtown Nashville, we watched all the ones from our neighborhood, went home, like got my son's teeth brushed. The ones from Nashville started at 9:35.
Yep.
And I remember looking up at like 10:20 or whatever, and they were still going.
Mm.
Yeah, it was supposed to be over at 10. They went a little over.
They went on, maybe it was 10:15,
Yeah.
but they went on forever. Because we just had it on the TV, so I guess Channel 2 always runs it, so we had it on and we're watching. Oh, my gosh. The Nashville fireworks get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger every year. So it was amazing to watch, but hopefully everybody had fun. So are there firework are there fireworks? Should there be fireworks etiquette? I think the one thing is, like the people who the night before and the night after shoot off all their fireworks when your kids are trying to go to sleep. Now, that I have a problem with.
Yeah, like if you're popping them off in a neighborhood tonight, it's like, come on, man.
And there are going to be people who are popping them off in every neighborhood
Well,
tonight.
watch this. Well, they were trying to have etiquette, and then they fell asleep after they watched the fireworks. They said, well, we'll just light them tomorrow.
Oh, no, there's going to be some people who do that. And I don't mean here and there, but I mean the people who it sounds like mortar shells going off that shake your whole house, which we've had some of that action with some people.
I was just
in our
wondering if there
neighborhood.
was any to it. Really, it was no big deal, but it was just like, dang, well, their fireworks are going right underneath where I'm looking at the other one. I mean, that doesn't look so good compared to the
People just like blowing stuff up.
Oh, man. People spend a ton of money, man, on those fireworks, man.
Maybe you got a neighbor who could be a ding dong of the week candidate. We'll do that coming up in the second segment of today. We'll have ding dong of the week. So last week Lucas had stuff to give away. Man, we had so many ding dong calls.
Oh, did you?
Oh gosh, it was ding dong calls all around that day. So we need to tap into Uncle Lucas's prize closet again.
Sent a bunch of people to that Motley Crue and Def Leppard show.
Yeah. So people were fighting over those tickets. So if you've got a ding dong of the week, maybe it could be one of your neighbors based on fireworks. Maybe it's college football. Maybe that's your ding dong of the week because you and me are sitting here last Thursday. Right before we walk in, everybody finds out about UCLA and USC. So we basically spent 2 hours that day just trying to process it, trying to tell you guys, okay, this is okay. Now it appears to be official. Okay, now they're saying by 2024. So in real time, we kind of got to watch things happen. And Lucas and Will Bowling were filling in for Buck. So they got about 20, 25 or so minutes.
Right at the end of the show.
Right at the end of the show. And so it was such a big deal to talk about. And then Will came in and hung out with me while you were traveling on Friday. And so that's pretty much all that we talked about. And the crazy thing is, like there are reports as of today. I probably read 15 articles from all around the country. And then I read something right before we came on the air. I think it was Matt Hayes of Saturday Down South. Maybe it was him. I've read so many, they're all running together, who essentially said, hold off on everything that you think might happen. But this morning, when I was making my notes, there are reports that Utah, Arizona, Colorado, Arizona State are meeting with the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
And the latest thing I read, again, I think it was Matt Hayes. If it wasn't, I apologize to whoever wrote this, essentially was saying that behind the scenes, the Pac-12 was like doing all Kliavkoff, the commissioner, was doing all this work behind the scenes, like he had some other plan to try to hold it all together. So does that mean he's going to raid what's left of the Big 12? Or it sounded like, even as of this morning, till I read that the Big 12 was basically like, okay, then we'll just go get whoever we want. And then suddenly they'd be kind of viable again, with UCF and Houston and
kind of make a big three.
Make a big three and leave the Pac-12 in the dust, and then whatever happens with the ACC. So that takes us back to this, and I'd asked this question on Blaine and Mickey, ask a poll question for all you SEC fans out there, and it was a simple one. I asked if you could add one of these three teams, or you could answer below if you had another team, who would you add to the SEC? Clemson, Florida State, Miami, or other? I left that poll up all weekend. So pretty funny to hear the responses. Now, not funny to see what number one is. It's Clemson by a mile. So the Blaine and Mickey listeners, 59.1% said Clemson, 21.6% said Florida State, which if you look at that, I mean, there was once upon a time where
they were the top of the mountain.
Florida State was the top of the mountain.
Florida State,
yep.
South Carolina, Clemson.
Yep.
So, you kind of look at those things there. And who else did you have? You had the U?
You had the U, 10.3%.
I can't believe they were last.
They were last by a mile.
Well, it's because kind of the U is falling off a little bit and compared to the years they were winning, national titles and everything else. But it's kind of hard to leave them out. But some people would. Now, it seems like they've kind of, they're on the right track now with Cristobal and, and crew over there. My man Joe Salavea, former Titan, is their head recruiter there.
Joe's done a heck of a job, man.
Yeah,
You're always telling me
where
he is. That guy's done great work since he left here.
Just pulled in the number one offensive tackle in the country yesterday. Picked Miami over Tennessee.
He got him for over Tennessee.
Francis
This dude is a
Mauigoa.
heck of a recruiter. This dude does not stop.
Oh, I saw that because The Rock tweeted about it. Because the young man is American Samoa.
Yeah.
And so The Rock has
And that relationship
ties
probably helped
to him. Yes.
with that tie.
I didn't even think about that.
And it's like a really big dude wearing number 0 in the pictures,
Mm-hmm.
which looks sick, I think. I love the big dude in a single-digit number.
But Miami's making massive, massive financial commitments to football, too, that they haven't made in decades.
Yes.
Isn't that
It seems
funny?
like
I don't
they're
even know
serious.
how many. Like Blaine and me, he played with Michael Barrow. Like from the U dudes. He played from them.
Yeah. Darren Smith, Ryan McNeil, we all going against each other, cornerback there. So all those guys, and it was funny, man. All those guys were exceptional dudes. Like I thought, I'm gonna just say this, based off when I was in college watching them, I thought I'm gonna say they were more on the, let's say, thuggish side. Right? Because that was the perception.
Yeah.
They made it up like Catholics for, Notre Dame
Versus convicts.
Right.
Yes.
So
there
I
were
was-
T-shirts that
and
said
man,
that.
I mean, every last one of them, they are sharp as a whip, really smart on the field, off the field, some of the smartest players I ever played with. Michael Barrow may be the smartest guy I ever lined up with on defense. I mean, seriously. And I'm just like, man, I just saw him I texted him yesterday. There was a tweet out showing his big-time hit when he hit Vanover against Florida State on a wide receiver screen. He laid him out. And I'm like, if people only knew this guy right now, like how he was, like, that's not like, I mean, he's not that kind of guy. So, I mean, these guys are all sharp. He's coached for a long time. Now he's retired. He even coached with Pete Carroll as over at Seahawks. So it's just kind of weird, the perception of what I thought they were because of TV and then how they were really in person, at least the guys that I met.
Sure.
Darren Smith was the other one, Michael Barrow, and Ryan McNeil, who's the starting corner. All of them on that team who won the national championship or played in the national championship game.
There was even animosity between the football program and the university and boosters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Well,
didn't like the way they were portraying the
and
But
it's
they're kind of landlocked a little bit there, so
Yeah.
they have to play in the Dolphin Stadium. So it's kind of a quirky deal. I think they found some land like around the corner that they were going to use, and now I think one of the big donors is a part of that process, and they're kind of keeping up with the Joneses as far as NIL deals too, as well.
Yep.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Mhm.
The best basketball player, one of the best basketball players in Arkansas State history, left to go sign with Miami for, I don't know, 100,000 or so in NIL guarantees.
John Ruiz
He was the
is
Sun
up
Belt
there.
Player of the Year and left to go to Miami.
John
North
Ruiz is
Chad
up there
Omier.
with a bullhorn.
We're going to have to get some music every time he brings up the word Arkansas State.
But it's relevant to this discussion. Miami took my guy.
No,
they
you're
took
right.
him away.
No, absolutely it is. But I mean, man, it goes. He knows everything about Arkansas State, though.
It all ties back.
It does. It does. That was a great tie in there.
It was.
I want some music or something. Like we got the doop doop. We gotta have something for that. Yeah, that.
Well, we
that.
just play the fight song. I'll find a copy for
Like
you.
a 2-second snippet of the fight
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, I can find you
No,
one.
that was a great connect, man. They stealing players all over the place.
I'd put Miami at the
man.
top of that list on that poll question.
Right, as far as to the SEC.
Really?
As the
Over
most
Clemson?
attractive, yeah.
Wow. And they were
Because
third.
Clemson just got big here over the last, 10 years?
And Miami's making bigger strides as far as NIL goes than Clemson is.
Well, and it's funny. In another one of the 35 articles I've read since last Thursday, it said everything in the last round of expansion was just driven by how big is your TV market? Okay, come on. Yours is bigger than theirs. Come on. Now they're saying they're even willing to look at brands thinking, well, they're not great now, but they'll be great because of Clemson and what Dabo did. So the thought is maybe some of this expansion will just be driven by conferences saying this could be the next Clemson.
Well, who wants to watch this team on
Yeah.
TV?
Yep.
So who are your top 4 teams? If you had to add 4 teams basically to the SEC, so we're saying Clemson, the U, who else you going with? Florida State? as
That was
well
the
as-
big 3 on here. Clemson, Florida State, Miami.
I'm trying to keep it even to 20. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Because they're saying these deals TV deals could get up to 150 to 200 million now if they have 20 teams. I'm like, oh, do what?
I'll tell you the wild card in this, and this is an answer
North Carolina?
Nope, because if North Carolina and Duke, I think will always stay together. So this was the answers on our poll. 59.1% said they want Clemson to the SEC. 21.6% said Florida. 10.3%
Florida State.
Florida State. Miami got 10.3%. Other got 9.1%. Lucas says we need to take a break. On the other side, I'll tell you a team that makes great sense to
Who
be
had
the
highest
fourth.
percentage?
Well,
points?
Well, no, somebody wrote them in at the bottom,
Oh.
but I think they'd be perfect. I'll tell you to go with these three. I'll tell you who that is next. Blaine and Mickey. It's a tease. Consider yourself teased. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. We will get to Ding Dong of the week here in just a minute. We normally do that on Monday, but there is no Monday. Well, there was a Monday, but it just wasn't this Monday for us. So we're doing the Monday business of Ding Dong of the week today. We like to say, don't be a ding dong, use Mark Spain, but here's the real line. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing. Yeah, no showings. You don't have to fix the kitchen or anything. We'll get to our ding dong phone calls in a minute. You can jump in 615-737-1045. But here was the discussion we were having on the other side. Had a poll question up this weekend on the Blaine and Mickey Twitter account. By the way, if you're not following us, what are you doing? At Blaine and Mickey. It's real simple. Who would be your top choice to add to the hashtag SEC? Clemson, 59.1%. Florida State, 21.6%. Miami, Lucas's choice, just 10.3%. Other got 9.1%. We said list below because sometimes people just click the other box, but they won't tell you who they're thinking. So Dawson says Clemson makes the most sense geographically. I mean, we already had the Yard Chickens. I mean, Gamecocks. By the way, everything is Tennessee in Dawson's profile, so we know where he stands. Rodney said, it's too saturated now. Don't put any more in there. I don't know. I think you're going to have to try to match up with the probably 20 that the Big Ten's trying to get to.
That's where eventually it'll get to.
This rascal probably needs to be 20. Orange Stormtrooper just says Notre Dame. He said ND. I think Notre Dame, by all accounts, and you're the Indiana person, Notre Dame's going to keep rolling. Independent. Everything I read said that's their current thing. Is like, we don't have to do nothing.
I think they're eventually going to be forced to. They can't. I think they may get like 20, 30 million or something, but you can't pass up 100 million.
Nope.
That is not good business sense. So I think eventually they're going to go be added to the Big Ten. The reason why I say Big Ten is because you already play Michigan, USC, and I thought it was another team. They used to play at least Michigan State a little bit.
Yep.
So I think that would be an easier fit geographically and everything else. And I don't think they want to go to like the SEC because they would get beat downs by the middle of the road teams. In all honesty, unless they continue to recruit like they've done this past season, based off their history with Kelly and crew, they're just, as you got to see in the Final Four playoff a couple of years in a row, they just couldn't live up to the size-speed ratio there. Maybe down the road they can, so they may look at it that way. So I don't know, but I just think it's an easier deal to go to the Big Ten, and I think eventually, if they do go to a conference, that's the one they're going to go to.
I agree. Scott says all three of those, plus Baylor, Texas Tech, Okie State, North Carolina, and Duke. Now, I don't know about all that. The Texas schools make sense to me because you've added Oklahoma and Texas, and you've already got Texas A&M. So geographically, Texas makes sense. And the SEC is the only one that seems right now like we're fine just being in our own footprint. We don't need anybody from the West Coast. But here's the one, and Lucas, Tennessee grad, what do you think about this? This is from Derek on Twitter. He clicked the other box. He said Virginia Tech. How about Virginia Tech? Clemson, Florida State, Miami, Virginia Tech.
I think it's a good fit. I think Virginia Tech could be a good fit in the SEC.
I kind of like that. So where's that going to leave you with the Cavaliers? And we're not talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Well, the Cavaliers would just keep on cavaliering their way through the old what's left of the ACC. But their grant of rights goes through 2036.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm going to keep referencing this because I've read so many things about this. There are people who were already accusing the TV networks of working behind the scenes like, y'all need to be in this conference, like ESPN.
No, they absolutely are. They are actually dictating how this all is playing out.
So
people that don't know.
So some people are saying that ESPN could literally go to some of these conferences and go, okay, you don't have to sue them. You don't have to do it. That they could broker some of the deals, which that means I think they could help pull some of these people out of the ACC.
Yeah.
Or any of the networks who are trying to build a certain brand one way or the other could be like, no, we'll let you guys go to the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
So here's
and then we'll bring these teams into your conference and we'll be the big three and then pull the rug from under them at the last minute. Yeah, that's gangster. Don't think that's not how things is done, man. These dudes, you better not trust these dudes until you see it in writing.
Oh, no, not until you see it in writing. Not until you have signed, and everybody has signed. Clay, who has an Auburn avatar on Twitter, said, I'd love to see West Virginia and Virginia Tech. Carter, who I don't know who his affiliation is, he said Oklahoma State. Oh, he's a Vols fan. Oklahoma State.
Cowboys.
Man, if I could go anywhere, I want to go into Florida because think about how many dudes down there, fantastic players. I want to Florida up that rascal as much as I can. That's why I'm thinking, okay, who do I put? Got to put Clemson because I think a lot of people think Clemson. For years now, people have said. I remember I had a great friend who was a big SEC fan. He's like, Clemson should have joined forever ago. This was way before the Dabo thing. He just thought they fit and they had a built-in rival with South Carolina and everything already there. Why not just do it? What's amazing is a team like Georgia Tech, who's been a really big deal in our lifetime. Nobody's even talking about Georgia Tech right now.
Oh, no, Georgia Tech will not be in it.
Nope.
No. Nuts and bolts. They got bamboozled. Nah, they are not in that. That's horrible, but that's the way it's going right now, man. There's no way they're in it. They may hook up with Middle Tennessee and Western.
Getting left behind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. They can't be as lucky as Vanderbilt, who's right place, right conference, right time, and keep on clicking. Because what's going to happen to the other schools that, like Stanford, Wake Forest, teams like that, Georgia Tech.
Stanford academically and everything else fits the Big Ten.
Big Ten.
100%. And in some articles, it's like, yeah, maybe they'll talk to him, and others like, no. I mean, guys, this is how deep I got in a sucker Saturday night, like just after everybody went to bed.
You got any conclusive evidence that
no,
you know what's going on?
I've read 63 articles. I'm more confused. By the way, I'm going to make the number bigger every time I say it.
Yeah.
76 articles I've read. I'm more confused now. It's like I got to the end of the internet and my brain is just exploding. I got into some Mountain West blogs. The Mountain West. Y'all even know Mountain West?
Oh, Mountain West. Wow.
You know Mountain West, Lucas? You stay up late?
Yeah, future Pac-12 team Boise State.
Yes.
Boise State.
So there was a whole rabbit hole from a Mountain West reporter who is convinced Utah, Arizona, Colorado, Arizona State that to the Big 12 is going to happen. Although I read right before we came on, no, don't expect it just yet. Mountain West potentially, if everything blows up in the Pac-12, that the Mountain West would add Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, and Washington State. Could you imagine Stanford packing up their bags and flying to some outpost in the Mountain West? And I got all respect for all the conferences. I mean, my ties are to the Sun Belt. So I'm not dissing the Mountain West, but Stanford? Wait, we're in what conference now? Hey, we'll just be independent. We'll just sign an internet only deal with, Apple, stream all of our stuff. We ain't doing it. We're gonna stream on everywhere.
Yeah,
we got smart people. They all
baby.
got a phone. We're just gonna stream. We'll have the biggest streaming network in the world, and we'll go play big teams, big games. But
you're not gonna be able to play big teams because they're gonna be locked into their conferences. You better sign with a Mountain West. Here we come. That's how I see it. I think if you get left out of the shuffle, you need to get with a conference. If you're a team like Stanford or Wake Forest I just now who are you playing? Are you
Arkansas State.
Yeah. Ball
You
State.
need to play the side.
Yeah, where are you going?
I mean, you're talking about programs that were at or near the top of college football at one point or another that are just straight up being left behind right now, that just feel like they have nowhere to turn. How low down the priority list is Stanford going to be for the Big Ten as they wait to hear from Notre Dame and keep an eye on what Oregon and what Washington might be doing?
And apparently, again, per one of the
Utah. I don't know. I think they would be fourth.
per one of the 111 articles that I read since last Thursday,
no.
one of them said that the initial talk was that USC and Notre Dame would join the Big Ten. USC and Notre Dame. That was the hope. And when Notre Dame was like, no, that they were like, someone get UCLA on the phone. But there was USC, Notre Dame. Notre Dame is like, no way, bro. Nope. have at it. Do whatever you. So that's when UCLA got added, and that USC and UCLA really didn't get together and talk about this until near the end of the process.
Which is ironic because Notre Dame would have made more sense than either of those, right? Like that wouldn't have been this mind-blowing, like, oh my God, college football as we know it is totally on fire,
right?
Type of news. Notre Dame and the Big Ten, that makes sense. Geographically, competitively,
it makes
rivalries.
all the sense in the world in every way possible. And so Heather Dinich, I've seen several interviews with her. She actually said, here's the irony of all this. A few months ago, she sat down with Jack Swarbrick, and she said, what would ever make you join a conference? And he gave 3 reasons. And one was basically, well, if our TV deal ever just didn't make sense anymore, nobody wanted us. And she goes, well, that's never going to happen because they're going to.
That may happen.
Well,
how much they get paid?
I don't know. The other
about $150 million per team. I think that changes.
Well, and one was based on if we don't have a TV partner, but she said they'll always have somebody who wants to air their games. They'll have some option. The other one was basically if financially things don't add up in the situation we're in, if it makes more sense to join a conference, if there's something that presents itself. But there were basically 3 things. And the doomsday scenario for them was essentially, I guess that was the third thing, was because two of them made perfect sense. Like one was if no one could schedule us, and 2 was if we didn't have a TV net. But the third one is if all things considered, it made no sense to keep on our current course, but to completely change our way of thinking, which she said that means join a conference. And like you keep saying, 100 million, 150 million, that'd be your share? Depending on how many billions the Big Ten's deal is for, that may be the things that breaks it for them, where he can't look at their shareholders anymore. And something she brought up was they have no shortage of money. Like they can get money from the school when they need money, which I kind of knew this because I have a friend who's the AD now at UCF, and he'd said this to me without really saying it. The schools in Florida stand alone. They can't get money from the academic side. Like Florida Gators don't need the money. They're Florida Gators. But you can't get money from the academic side. Like Notre Dame, that if they need money, they just go to the school and go.
They're a private school.
Right. We need $18 million.
No different than Vanderbilt.
Right. We need $18 million. Okay.
But they don't do that.
Right.
They don't do that.
But Notre Dame, like, okay, here's $18 million. Come back when you need some more, son. But Terry essentially told me, like at UCF, they were trying to pay their exit fees and everything out of the American. He goes, no one gives us any money. We have to raise every penny. So UCF doing that. Florida does that. Florida State, Miami. So for Greg Sankey, I think the idea of getting this thing to 20, if you're out, can you imagine the panic button that's being hit at Clemson right now? To see everything that's going on. Because I know you're like, well, we can keep winning the ACC probably, but there would have to be this terror that like, okay, Notre Dame's not going to join. Some of our teams are probably already trying to get out. If I'm Dabo, if I'm the board of trustees, if I'm the president, if I'm Clemson, I'm like, get the lawyers on the phone. We need to figure out how to get out of this now. You got to get us out. Call ESPN.
Because how long is that contract for?
2036.
Yeah, I don't know if the word panic is the kind of word I would think of. How can we facilitate getting out of this contract, and how much will whatever conference we go to help us facilitate getting out? And the TV people who's kind of controlling the needle will help us as well.
Yep.
That's kind of what I would be thinking. I don't know what the lawyers would be looking at, because it only makes sense that you go there now. I don't know if Clemson would be as effective as a team in the SEC playing opponents like that week in and week out. That will be a whole nother story. Now, will it propel them in their recruiting? Well, you could say already that they're already doing a great job recruiting.
Yep.
But it's a different level when you're playing SEC high-level teams week in and week out. There's no, let's take a break here. We can play the backups here for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Like you could do in the ACC. So that's the part, when you say the word scare, that's the only part, if I was a coach, like, ooh, as much as you're a competitor and they've made it to the final, but they made it from another conference, then they didn't win a national championship, but then you only had to win 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the gauntlet of playing a 10-game schedule of SEC back to back to back to back. When you got some of the biggest human beings in college sports out there banging heads. So, yeah, I think I like your option. Clemson, maybe the U, Florida State. I like those options.
I like those
For
three.
the SEC, yeah.
Boy, and Virginia Tech. I mean, West Virginia. If that whole thing blows to heck, maybe West Virginia. But 20 seems to be the number, and there's
I would go back and forth. I know you keep going back, but talk about this Duke, North Carolina. If I'm North Carolina, I'm trying to parlay to get into the SEC.
so like screw you, Duke. I know we've been together all this time. We can still play each other in basketball, but we taking care of ourselves.
What did we talk about, Lucas, on Thursday? Location and rivalries are not going to be part of this issue. It's about the dollars.
Yeah.
And if they feel like you bring some to the table in the SEC, and maybe that's the North Carolina market, and guess what? We say, man, y'all a team on the rise, but y'all ain't there yet. Guess what? You can be at the lower middle class in our SEC. So we bring in a good team, North Carolina market, and Virginia Tech kind of fits that mold too, by the way. So, yeah, Virginia Tech, I don't know why I just like the North Carolina deal. I know a lot of people, just for fit, Virginia Tech fits better, but I love to have that North Carolina, and it brings that reputation. I'm looking down the road of their basketball program, and where's the SEC with basketball? It's probably the last couple of years been the second best conference.
Mm-hmm.
So now that kind of elevates a little bit on the other side.
It sure does. Man, it's just all monopoly money. It's fun for us to play with it.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not making those decisions. Now, this is where I would probably get a little, whoa, wait, what are we doing? Oh, slow down.
Commissioner Bishop, he says go to the phone lines right now. Justin in Nashville on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. What's up,
This is
Justin?
Mr. Sankey.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are
You
you?
got $650 million for us to play with?
I do, yeah.
Cool.
No, so I'm probably a little biased as a USC fan, but even with them leaving the Pac-12, I don't understand how the Pac-12 became the weak ones in all this. Like, that's what's kind of throwing me, is because it's like just 2 weeks ago the Big 12 was the one that's been adding all these Conference USA teams, and it seems like it's on the doorstep of falling apart. And now they're talking about poaching Pac-12 teams, which it seems like to me that Pac-12, even without USC and UCLA, has better teams than the Pac-12 does, or than the Big 12 does right now. So I'm just trying to figure out how that kind of off the script like that.
And Justin Lucas was saying, I don't know if you said that over the air just to us. It's all about TV money, and the Pac-12 deal is up. I guess the Pac-12 network is essentially disappearing, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had the worst television deal of any Power 5 conference by far, as far as
Right, so
what,
2024, right?
yeah, what every program was getting. And now there's reports that the Pac-12 came out and said today that they are going to immediately start negotiating for their next TV deal. And they're telling schools that are being reported as potentially wanting to join the Big 12, Utah, Oregon, Washington, Arizona State. They're telling them, hey, hang on. Like, let us work on this TV deal right here.
Yep.
And you have something tangible instead of waiting around to see what will happen with the Big 12. They're in desperation mode right now, and it's because of their TV deal. They had the worst one in the Power 5. I think they probably botched the 2020 season with the pandemic. They barely played any games. So I feel like USC and UCLA are looking around with reason to leave.
Completely agree with that. But the caller was asking, how did the Pac-12 get so, like, down the ladder? And a lot of it is, besides Oregon, I think Washington made it 1 year. Was it
Yes,
Washington?
with
To the Final Four?
oh goodness, who is the quarterback at Washington? Was a high
forget.
draft pick. Jake Browning, right?
Browning.
Was it him?
Was the
Those
quarterback.
are the only two teams that have made it to the Final Four, and I think they kind of got lost in the shuffle because they weren't making it, and then when they did, they didn't perform well.
Oh, Washington
and then
got
the time they play,
Yeah.
it's only the West Coast time. So I think that kind of put them in this position, and bad TV deals, as you guys mentioned. I think where they're at now, that's what he was calling. Like, how did the Pac-12 just sink to? They're not even the third best conference. It's like they're getting left in the shuffle. All the teams besides the power brokers over history, Pac-12, USC, are now in the Big Ten. So how did the other teams just melt away? Like, why aren't they part of this equation? And so that's why I'm curious about Oregon, Washington, and even Utah. And the reason why I say that is because they have played well and they look like the teams that are on the rise and continue to have success. Even when they play in bowl games, when I watched them against Ohio State, I was like, man, they're right there with these guys. They had one guy going both ways, and he didn't even do that all season. He just did it this game and looked pretty good.
Hey, a Utah BYU rivalry being back in the same conference, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
They haven't been in the same conference
And
in a
if I'm
long
Boise
time.
State's AD, I'm calling everybody right now. Like, hey man, come on now. We come on. What are we doing? I'm calling Kliavkoff. I'm calling.
But everybody's waiting to see if they can get a call from the bigger schools, though.
Yeah.
I mean, bigger conferences. That's what they're like, oh, well, yeah, we're interested, but we're kind of going to, kind of wait because we know over there, if we get in there, it's going to be 2 times more money.
Speaking of money, we got to pay some bills. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will do our ding dongs of the week. You can get online and share one with us if you would like to. Remember this, Post Malone is bringing his 12-carat tour to Nashville's Bridgestone Arena with special guest Roddy Rich on October 16th at 104.5 The Zone. We've got your chance to be there. Sign up for your chance to win tickets today at 1045thezone.com. Back with the ding dongs of the week next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Again, Ding Dong of the Week, always brought to you by Mark Spain Real Estate. Go to markspain.com, get a guaranteed offer on your home today, and start packing. Our friend Eric always likes to check in. 615-737-1045 for Ding Dong of the Week. Eric, thanks for starting us off again, buddy.
Hey, guys, I've got two. I think the first one you'll get a big kick out of, guys. Anybody who thinks that competitive eating is a sport, you're a ding-dong. I tell you what, guys.
Well, it's not a sport, Eric. Come on, man. It is a sport, bro. My jaw, he got to get his jaws.
It's just computer like that. That's my feelings on that. But, guys, here's the main one. Guys, a guy by the name of James Chin, he's a bus driver, and he loves gummy bears. And he recently purchased and consumed gummy bears. He's also a bus driver, so he got behind the wheel of his bus and started driving away. He started driving real erratically on the road, and shortly after that, the police were called. When they caught up with him, he was passed out behind the wheel of the bus. Turns out the gummy bears he consumed were laced with marijuana. Now, I tell you what, he must have been – I guess he's in a state where that's legal, but you got to be sure when you're eating that you read the package before you do that. So he's my other one. Guys, y'all take care and have a great day. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Eric. Man picked up the wrong sack of gummy bears. It should have said like Haribo instead of Cron on the back. All right, Lucas, let's hear about your ding dong.
I was worried Eric was going to take this one. I'm glad he didn't.
Okay.
My ding dong of the week is the protester who stepped up onto the stage during the 4th of July hot dog eating contest right next to Joey Chestnut to show his messaging. I can't remember what the sign said. I think it had something to do with animal rights. He's not my ding dong of the week for his cause or what he was protesting. None of that. But he steps up next to Joey Chestnut. I don't know if anybody has ever been more in the zone than Joey Chestnut when he was passed like 40 hot dogs in the hot dog eating contest yesterday at Coney Island. And he got absolutely choke slammed by the GOAT of professional eating. This would be like jumping out in front of LeBron James on a breakaway dunk with a protest sign, or maybe stepping in front of Aaron Donald as he's bearing down onto a quarterback to take his head off with the sign to protest. Do not approach the GOAT with a sign to put out your message and not expect to be choke slammed. I bet Joey Chestnut couldn't do that sober, but he was in the zone. He wasn't going to let anybody interfere with his 15th title.
Oh, my. Did you watch that?
I saw the video. He's just like shoving hot dogs. He looks at the guys next to him and like he does a double take. And then like Lucas said, he choke slammed the guy.
Swift.
And then kept on eating.
Yep.
And went right back to another dog.
It was like in one swift motion. I bet he didn't even know he did it. I bet he blacked out in that moment.
Oh, no, he was totally in the zone.
Out-of-body experience.
He was out of body. Yes.
He was out of body experience.
100%.
Hot dogs. Really? Matter of fact, I'm going to go online. I think that ding dong was already set up for a ding dong. I think that ding dong was all set up. I think that was a set up ding dong. Yeah, that's my ding dong.
I think they tried to like Nancy Kerrigan him with Tanya Harding, like take him off his game.
Remember, he had a boot on too, by the way. He sprained. He had a boot on his leg.
He's injured, and he still ate, 65 or whatever it was?
I don't know, 63? I don't know, something absurd.
60 plus wieners.
It was not that many.
Like, I'm pretty sure there was a time where that was thought to be impossible.
He makes the impossible true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's why it's a sport.
Can you imagine as a kid, his friend's like, I'm going to cure cancer. And the other kid's like, I'm going to play in the Super Bowl. He's like, I'm going to eat 63 hot dogs in 15 minutes or whatever it is. And choke slam a guy who's protesting whatever we're doing.
You think that was a setup, Blaine? Do you think that was sent by some like loan shark who had a bunch of money on it to try and throw Joey off his game?
Come on, man. He grabbed that guy like that was somebody running onto the football field and got tackled. He was trying to choke him. He was trying to choke him, man. And by the way, I don't know what he does, but I don't know. I look like he lift a little weights, man. He looked like he lift pumps.
Chestnut?
Yeah,
he's a finely tuned athlete, Blaine.
His form looked big. I was like, man, he looked like he really does something. I mean, pick up his appetite. That's how he's able to eat so many hot dogs.
There was a story on ESPN on Saturday night about this couple. It's like a guy with a mohawk and his wife, and they have a son, and they're both competitive eaters. And did you see this?
Yeah, I saw the special, the little, little thing they did on the feature.
And at one point, like they're talking, and you're realizing like they're like cooking a bunch of hot dogs. They just took them all in the parking lot of their apartment, just stacked them on a table and set up a timer and both like slammed 40 hot dogs while they were standing there. And she's like, gosh, I needed to get to 41 or whatever the number was. And he was like, I'm pleased with mine. And they just picked up their baby and went upstairs. Just in the parking lot of their apartment building eating 60 hot dogs or whatever it was.
It was
in
dinner.
8 minutes. Yeah. And it showed them lifting weights. They're both all yoked and everything. Athletes. All right. Who is your ding dong?
I really don't know what I'm doing. You know what? I'm going to just go. You're going to have to go see it, so that's going to help him out. I did not like Jurassic Park. I did not like
the
it.
makers of Jurassic Park are your ding dongs.
Yeah, that was not good. It's average at best. You got to go look at it. I was not a happy camper.
Do you have high hopes?
I really did. I really did. Kind of tradition to go see a nice little movie on the 4th. Relaxing. Nobody there during the day. Everybody getting prepared and their barbecue and everything. And I'm better off just going and make some hot dogs. It was not. And man.
I've never seen one of the Jurassic Parks.
Seriously? Oh, what?
Not the old ones, not the new ones. Not when they called it Avatar. I've never seen any of the Jurassic.
They called it Avatar.
I've never seen any of those.
Oh.
I'm not a big dinosaur movie person.
Oh, wow.
I've never seen one.
Watch this. I would have thought you would have been.
Nope.
What about Rabble? I bet Rabble.
If he hasn't been there, you know
I'm his
Rabble's
parent. I mean,
been.
he'd have to go through me.
Yeah. Watch this. I bet Rabble's knows everything about Arkansas State, though.
He probably knows more about dinosaurs, sadly. Not from a lack of trying. Well, I mean, he just, he's young.
Okay. Did the daughter.
Yeah. She knows about Arkansas State. I feel like we should keep playing the theme song every time I say this since I'm mentioning it. Mine is Rob Manfred, who seems to be a ding-dong alive. He did the interview recently where somebody asked him if he hates baseball. And Gary Bettman used to be considered the worst commissioner by far of any sport. So Rob Manfred is more worried about robot umpires and like how long the pitcher has between pitches. We're going to clean that up by 2024. They want to have like robot umpires, just like the computerized strike zone.
Oh, you don't like that?
No.
Oh, we gotta make sure that is the poll question. Yeah, do you like the
robot umpires?
Yeah. You know why he's trying to say that? Because they want to speed up the game and they're going to sell that to the rights of whatever TV deal they got, and that's going to make it funner and exciting to watch.
Meanwhile, this is Shohei Ohtani's June stats. He had 5 pitching starts. He had a 1.52 ERA. He struck out 38. His batting average against him was 204. Meanwhile, in June, he hit 298 with 6 home runs, 17 RBIs, and OPS was 973.
Okay.
This guy is the most unique player since Babe Ruth.
Right.
And you could show like his picture to people and they wouldn't know who he was. They're doing the absolute worst job in history of marketing a generational athlete.
I'm giving you the ding dong. You know why?
Why?
It's a joke on the side of this. They've been really consistent. They haven't promoted anybody. They haven't promoted anybody. So they're keeping with their MO. And I completely agree with you. It's fascinating how special this guy is. And they said it when he came in and he was slow moving. And after that first year, he's been off to the races.
Pitching and hitting.
He should be known around the world. He should be on the face of, when it says the logo of Major League Baseball, he should be right next to that right now. Sorry.
Mike Trout.
Trout can't even touch him. He's on the same team.
And Trout was the best player in baseball for almost 10 years. And nobody could pick Mike Trout out of a police lineup unless you stay up late and watch the games. And you'd have to stay up super late. So Major League Baseball, you're focused on the wrong stuff as always. Rob Manfred, you're a ding-dong. Hour number 2 coming up. Headlines next. What's the latest with expansion? We'll get you that and a whole lot more stuff. And Coach Mack coming up in a little over 20 minutes on Blaine and Mickey.
We expanding too.
It is 2:02. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I am Lucas Panzika. Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports with some new college football conference realignment news, reporting that the Big 12 is in, quote, deep discussions to add up to 6 Pac-12 schools. Reportedly, they are Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Oregon, Utah, and Washington. This, of course, less than a week after UCLA and USC announced a move to the Big Ten. CBS Sports goes on to report a merger of the Pac-12 and Big 12 is now a possibility, and that, quote, everything is on the table. The Atlanta Braves are at home going against the St. Louis Cardinals again after last night's 6-3 win. First pitch tonight is at 6:20. Braves still sit 3.5 games back of the Mets at the top of the NL East. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
The Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. So we do Ding Dong of the Week on Monday, but there was no Monday. So Tuesday is, in effect, our Monday. So we did Ding Dong of the Week. And then I'm just sitting here with Blaine, and I said, can you believe that Zion Williamson got a max deal? And what'd you say? How many percentage of games? And I couldn't believe it was this much.
38% he's played over his first 3 years.
85 games, I think it was.
Is that?
I can't believe it's that many.
Yeah.
I would have bet you it was like 40.
Now, look, I'm a fan
I'm going to give a
of his
super
and
ding
everything.
dong to the NBA.
Yeah, but I just don't like how they structured. I mean, the players. I mean, man, A.J. Brown just missed 6 games and produced those other games, and they was like, "Bye, young man, bye." See how it's different? Owners run their league, NFL, NBA players. Hey, man, we run our league. I played 38% of my 3 years, and I got the max deal. How about them apples? Man, and I know he's going to be a superstar and all that, but still, you just give him away. And congratulations, Darius Garland. You're from Nashville and BA and everything, Vanderbilt. So, yeah, he definitely deserved it. Had an all-star year. But, man, I saw that when I was like, they're contemplating. They should be like, nah, we're not giving you a max deal. We still hold your restricted rights or something. You get the bare minimum. I'm like, really? Boy, those are dunks was really exciting.
Yeah, we remember the video that we saw
30%.
one day on SportsCenter. We're in here doing the show. Look at him.
This thing, he didn't even play at all last year.
In practice.
At all last year, and then the year before he played like half of a season, maybe. I'm like,
Boy.
wow.
I would have had him meet with 73 doctors. I would have had his x-ray. I would take it to the Hubble telescope and look at that thing as close as I could. I would have taken it to every doctor. I would have had Dr. Andrews fly down there. I would have had Julie Andrews fly down there. I'd have everybody fly down there.
Hey,
and
man.
I'd be like, think about that. What was the total on that? Total commitment for Zion?
$193 million, 5 year. I was like, this dude hit the lottery and he paid 38% of the game. I got hats off to the Pelicans. I mean, that's a PR move. They had to. They were, but man, that the power of the players, especially, and then some guys, I'm like, man, does he even play very much? I mean, they were still getting $10 million a year.
Hey,
I'm like, whoa,
that's $38.6 million.
Yeah.
Listen to this. His average payout is more than the Pac-12 schools. He's getting more per year than the Pac-12.
I'm glad you had the 38. Put it back up. No, that 38 is the same exact percentage he played the last 2 years.
That's crazy. He's getting more than Pac-12 schools pay out for the TV deal.
If you're wondering why UCLA and USC are out of
It's
there.
because Zion makes more money per year than they do. Sweet mother of mercy.
Zion, you know who he needs to take? He needs to talk to Charles Barkley. That's what he needs.
Like
to
how
do.
to be big and survive.
No. Barkley, people forget he was big, mile around and rebound.
But only like, what, 6'4"?
Right, but he was big and thick like him, right?
Yep.
Then 1 year, all of a sudden, he came back, and then he was thin. He was shooting threes when he got to the Suns. Took his body weight and eating habits seriously. And then all of a sudden, he never really had any health issues. I don't think Barkley really had any health issues. But Zion is because he's a high, explosive, impactful jumper like that. And if, anything gets off, all of a sudden, he's in trouble. Foot fracture, knee.
Oh, that
I mean, it was like hip. I'm like, oh, man, how did this guy have all these problems? And he's so young. So you got to put him on. I don't know what you want. Just go do the vegan diet, whatever you need to do to get down and slim down, and then work on your skills. And when I say skills, if he doesn't put a 3-point shot to his game, he's going to be in trouble. Because at some point in time, you got to change your game. And that's what Barkley did. All of a sudden, then he became a prolific 3-point shooter. He could play his back to the basket, and he could play the mid-range. So he's got the back to the basket and mid-range for a guy 6'6", an explosive guy. But you got to be able to bring him out there now to that 3-point line.
He is listed as 6'6", 284. 6'6", 284, which means he's not 6'6", and he's probably more than 284.
Okay, I'm going to give you a good example. 6'6", 255, Gronk. Mm-hmm. And he got him by 30. 30 pounds. Tumbo, I like my cheese.
Cheeseburgers. By the
Keep
way,
him happy.
Lonzo is absolutely destroying the radio station in his own TV chat. The ding dong of the week is anyone who complains about fireworks being shot on the 4th of July. In all caps, Jason Martin.
What did he say?
Then he rolls in again. Other ding dong is Buck, who complained about the liquor at the soccer game was not up to his standards.
Well, we did a segment today.
Conversation?
Come on, Lonzo.
Well, we did this today. We did awesome things Buck hates at 11 o'clock.
Okay, it was a segment.
And one of them was beer. And Buck proceeded to complain that the tequila at Geodis Park is not quite up to his standards, so he bought beer.
But he's allergic to it or something.
You guys, you were there too?
At the soccer game?
Yeah.
I was there on Sunday, yeah.
A thrilling tie after a 2-0 start.
Yeah, they've struggled at home recently to get results.
And lost at home in a long time, right?
2 weeks ago, they lost to Kansas City. It was their first home loss.
Well, I remember that because Will
2020.
fought the whole city of Kansas City for a week after that on Twitter.
Yes, that was their opportunity to get revenge on Kansas City in a soccer field for getting World Cup games to host. But they've struggled a little bit in Geodis Park recently.
You got remedies for their solutions? What, they need to switch up their alignment or something? What do they need?
We don't have time for that. National Soccer Show.
Tell people when it drops, they get their solutions.
Drop it tomorrow night for some solutions.
Earlier, while we're sitting here, we just have the TV on the studio. This was on the Colin Cowherd show. Report, Big 12 in talks to add up to 6 Pac-12 teams. Ooh. So literally, I read 218 articles this weekend about that, and it started out 100%. They weren't. And by Saturday night, they were going to talk. Then by Monday, they were talking. And then before I sat down, literally, it was like, hold up, Kliavkoff, which is I believe I've heard
commissioner of the Pac-12.
I've heard it said Kliavkoff and Kliavkoff. Either way,
you read those 212 articles. I've read my 2.
Well, you're probably less confused than I am. Before we came on, it was like, hold up, Kliavkoff is behind the scenes like a sorcerer. He's like Doctor Strange, and he's trying to conjure up a new TV deal. Don't go anywhere till you see what Dr. Kliavkoff has conjured up for you. A spell.
Sounds like a supervillain.
I watched that movie with my son, by the way. I remember when superheroes just like flew around and like stopped to train with their hands. This is some voodoo stuff going on.
Doctor Strange.
What in the, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but oh my gosh. Like a superhero would be like, pick up that building and get the orphans out from under it. No, that's not what this is about. They knock over a bunch of stuff. Every Avenger movie ends with like, world's just destroyed. Then like regular people got to walk around down their neighborhood and the building falls over in front of them. They never clean up what they left behind.
Wait,
I'm not an Avengers fan.
I thought we were talking about the Pac-12.
So the Pac-12 got Doctor Stranged. He just came in and blew it all up like a multiverse.
Okay, there you go.
But you can't cross the streams into multiverse, or apparently you just ruin one whole universe. I learned I'm not trying to ruin a movie for anybody. That's all he did was like conjure up some spell and shoot it at somebody. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Pac-12 and Big 12 might create a new college football multiverse if the talks of a merger are accurate.
I just love how his cape could function on its own.
It just flies around and rejoins him. Seriously, there's one point where the cape's like, hey, Steve, how's everyone? Phil, whatever his name is. What
Steve,
doctor? Steve, yes, his name is Steve. The cape just flies up out of nowhere and rejoins him.
I was like, dang, his cape just does what it wants.
He was wearing it as a scarf at one point in the movie. And then, like, he had to turn into Doctor Strange. So he's like, yep, and he pulls it off, and it's like cape again.
It's multi-purpose.
The Pac-12 better figure out that kind of cape because they in trouble.
Well, the cape for them is a TV deal if they can pull one out of their butt. Why not just form the Big Pac? How many teams would that be? Have you done the math? I mean, -2 and
The
what?
Big Pac.
The Big Pac.
The
But besides
Pac-12 and Big 12 merger.
Yeah, Big Pac.
Okay, they could just keep the teams.
Yes.
Call it the big because the Big 12 will feel some kind of way because it got Pac still. You know,
Oh,
they got to give it a new name.
Oh, no, Pac-12
call
turned
it-
up their nose at them last year. I would be like, I'm going to break my boot off in your rear end right now because I can. But wouldn't it make the most sense
They
just to
should
say
call it the Big Pac.
Big Pac, yes.
The Big
I
Pac.
kind of like that.
I've been talking about the Big Pac forever.
Because you're
Big
mixing
Pac.
the Big 12 and the Pac 12.
Yes.
The Big Pac.
The Big Pac. Big 12, Pac 12, Big Pac. There's no more geography.
I
You
like
can't be
it.
the big
You just
anything
gave
anymore.
us the Nick Saban. Do that again.
I'm hands and all. I'm very handsy. But like, there's no more geography. Just be the Big Pac. That doesn't connotate anything.
Yep, you can
Create
add
the
who it
mega
is.
super conference before SEC
There
and
we
Big
go.
Ten. do.
We got our commissioner right here.
I just solved this freaking thing at 2:13.
Watch this, the Big
Kleevkov, the Big Mick conference. At one point, somebody wanted to combine the Sun Belt and the Big East into the Sun Beast. I thought that was a fantastic.
Yeah, you know you're big on the merger.
Oh, the
Their
Sun
name.
Beast would have been amazing.
Sun Beast.
The Sun Beast Conference. There's a tweet out there about that with the description of that conference, words I can't say. And I thought, man, that it would be unblankwithable.
Oh, is that part of your 212 readings?
No, it's 311 articles that I read. All right, I don't have to read any articles because Coach Mack is coming up next. Let's turn our attention.
See what he thinks about the Big Pac.
Let's see what he thinks. Coach Mack joins us next. Blaine and Mickey 1045 The Zone. You hear that music. It means one thing. It means Coach Mack is on the phone with us. Mack Across America tour ended. He told us that last week. Going to spend a little time with us now to talk college football and pro football and Titans and you name it.
And basketball.
And basketball. Matt can talk it all.
No, not basketball. He hung up on us when we said basketball. We meant college football.
He was like, wait a second, I think I called the wrong place. Coach, we got you there? Oh, Lucas is blaming the phones. A good craftsman never blames his tools, Lucas.
Good craftsman never blames his tools.
Oh, there he is. I hear him. Coach Mack, what's up?
You heard that, Mac?
Lucas never does anything wrong, does he?
Oh,
He's a multi-talented. Lucas is like, Coach, you'd remember this guy. Remember Guido Merkins, who played in the NFL, and he was a receiver and a quarterback and a safety and a kick returner?
Let me tell you something about Guido Merkins. Guido Merkins was a quarterback for the Eagles when the Spare Bears during
yes
the strike that we had, and we played. Buddy Ryan could have cared less about the extra Eagles. And so they had a horrible team, and that was the first game that during that strike. And so we went to play the Eagles in Philly. Okay, at the old vet. First of all, we had to get up at 2 a.m. because the truckers union was going to block the bridge. So we got to the stadium like at 3:00, and then spent from 3:00 till 8:00 sleeping in the locker room. All right, then got up and went and ate breakfast with the Eagles upstairs in one of the suites, and then we came back down to play. Well, Guido Merkins was the quarterback for the Eagles, all right, and they were god awful. 12 times we sacked him, and the only reason we didn't sack him anymore because we didn't have any more snaps. We about killed Guido Merkins.
He was a college quarterback, right, at one of the Texas schools, like St. Angelo State or somewhere, I think.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. He wished he was.
That was the Scabs year?
That day.
Yeah, but he played in the regular NFL, then came back and was a quarterback for those 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, so all we did from the market set go, we sent zero blitz every snap after Guido Merkins. And so I felt bad for Guido Merkins. I really did.
The Spare Bears had a big one that day. They knocked old Guido around. We had the Speedway president on, Coach, a guy named Eric Moses, sharp guy, in Nashville Super Speedway, and we said, what's next for this place? And he said, I want to play a football game here. I want to play ball games out here like the Battle of Bristol that we saw. I want to do that. So that made me think, like, where's the wildest place you ever coached or played in a football game?
The wildest?
Yeah, the wild. I mean, I know not in a super speedway, but other countries. I mean, you went all over the place.
Yeah. We played the craziest I ever played with the atmosphere. Of course, we played in Berlin against the 49ers, in the Olympic Stadium. But the wildest was in Gothenburg, Sweden, when we played the Vikings, because they had no idea what was happening over there, and they didn't care. I mean, it was pretty wild. Just the whole week leading up to it was wild. I mean, they brought out to our practices from the first day on. They had model shoots that they were going to use us as the background. And over there in Europe, they could care less what they have on. They change clothes right there. With all these models, I could not get my guys to concentrate on nothing.
Did they know anything about the game, or was it just a circus to them?
It was a circus. It was, and they were all there. It was loaded up, and they were making a lot of noise. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was us and the Vikings in Gothenburg, Sweden for a week. Think about it.
Yeah, that doesn't sound terrible, Coach. I'm going to tell you. This doesn't sound terrible. Better rates, better coverage, better service. That's why Tennesseans have been relying on Farm Bureau health plans for their health coverage for 75 years. They also bring us Coach Mack and the Mack Attack each week.
Well, Coach Mack, man, you're a man of the people. So I have to ask you, what did you do on the 4th of July?
I had people in. By the way, I had people visiting, and we were riding around Monday, and on the radio, of course, I had 104.5 on the radio, and our segment came up, and they were very impressed. And they said, "You know what, Coach? That's really informative." And I said, "Those are really 2 smart guys I'm on with right there."
Well, thank you there, Coach.
But anyway, I was with my group. We were on 2 rooftops downtown. It was fantastic. It was an amazing event. I told Lucas before he so expertly connected us on the phone here. I told Lucas that Butch Spirit and his group do a wonderful job, with any events here in town. That was an amazing event down there. I mean, and the fireworks were spectacular. I mean, of course we were on the rooftops there. We had fantastic views, but it was spectacular, and they synced it up with the symphony. I mean, It was so cool. I mean, it really was. And the fireworks went on. I think they started at like 9:30, 9:35, and they didn't quit blowing things up to 10:15. And they weren't just black cats they were firing up in the air. It was amazing. It really was.
Yeah, no doubt. My man Butch, man, he does it right or he doesn't do it. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack. Naturally, on a sour note, well, a good note too as well. I always think about Steve McNair on July 4th. Yeah. What are some of your fondest memories? Prayers to him and his family, Michelle and everybody. But what are some of your fondest memories of the Air McNair? Yeah, well, when I came here, of course, he and Eddie, we're still here, and it was look. I mean, that guy was a transitional player. He really was. I mean, he was a difference maker in this league. The year that he shared, as you well know, because you were his teammate, that he shared the co-MVP of the league with Peyton Manning. I mean, he was just a difference maker. And the other thing about Steve that was so great that I really liked. You know who really loved Steve McNair and who he really took care of was Hossey and Joey and all the guys in the equipment room and the trainers. And he was always, you talk about being just a man of the people. He really was. And as a competitor and as a physically and mentally tough dude, I mean, he was that. And I can, remember just the awful experience, on the 4th of July, because I was out visiting people and Harold Gooding, you remember Trooper Gooding? He called me and asked me if I knew where, because Jeff Fisher was overseas. He was over in Baghdad. He was visiting the troops over there, and if I had a number to be able to get a hold of him, and of course I did. He'd given me that, whatever it is, that satellite phone number, and so we got a hold of him, and then I left the event where I was, and he left over there, and we met up back here, for the services and everything. It was just a really surreal time. But Steve McNair, look, that dude, if you want to talk about somebody that was a leader of men, that was a guy. Yeah, no doubt about it. We're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack, and I thought about this. Thinking about going into the football season, and in rare air, you just talked about McNair and Eddie George, but the fullback we had there was Lorenzo Neal. Where are we at with valuing fullbacks on teams when it's the passing era of the National Football League?
Not very high at all. Not very high at all, unless you still got, like you still got the real true West, a lot of the West Coast teams, and the teams, I talk about that, use that Shanahan offense that was a hybrid. A lot of that stuff comes out of what you're seeing now, Blaine. You're seeing people use 12 personnel and using that move tight end as a fullback, because a lot of the play action game, the play action protection, and also the play action matchups off of the I formation and the offset I, where you can use that guy to get matchups on linebackers, that's still in vogue quite a bit. But as far as just drafting pure fullbacks, it doesn't happen anymore. I spent this year at the USFL with Moose Johnston, and the Moose Johnsons, the Lorenzo Neals, those kind of guys, they just they're not there anymore. They really aren't, because teams aren't doing it in college either.
Yeah, 16. You either be a move guy or you end up playing linebacker in some form or fashion. We're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack from Titans Radio.
Coach, what do you make of all this college alignment? I know you still speak to coaches groups all the time. You got friends who coach at all level, from high school to college to still in the pros. What do you make of all this stuff, and where do we ultimately land, do you think?
Well, we land where the money is. And that's what's going to happen. You land where the money is, and you land where the networks are. I mean, geographical location means nothing anymore. I'm old enough to know how devastating it was when the Southwest Conference broke up. people couldn't imagine, when that happened. People were saying, what is going on with this? Well, now, the money is so big now with these television contracts that you have got to be able to align yourself. It's going to be, super conferences now and super coalitions with these teams. And if you're not aligned with it, sooner or later you're going to have to be. And the biggest giant out there right now that's not aligned is Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame will sit on the sidelines until it becomes, economically not feasible for them to do that, and then they'll jump in it too, and they'll jump into the Big Ten, and you can't say, well, you can say Big Ten all you want, but it's going to be a bunch more number than that.
Well, it's interesting too because there's a thought that the TV numbers will get so big that at that point, those schools can just say, okay, if you come and play football at, the SEC or the big whatever the number is going to be, we'll just pay you a salary. You'll just be paid. Now, the other sports, you can still be under the jurisdiction of the NCAA and take part in their tournaments, but football players, you'll just be employees of the university because of all the money you're bringing in. I had somebody ask me, well, do you think that means for the NFL or anything like that? I said, I don't really think it means anything. They'll still hold the draft every year and pick the guys who are eligible, and they'll just keep it moving.
You're 100% right, and I think I think some form or fashion, that is coming because the NCAA really is a paper tiger right now. They're toothless
right.
as far as anything that's going on, as far as any kind of legislation. So once these power groups get together, they will run because basically the NCAA has nothing to do with the college football playoffs now. They run the tournaments of the other sports.
Right.
Is basically what they do, and their enforcement arm now is completely null and void because one of their biggest parts of they used to have a huge enforcement policy and an enforcement department because of all the improper. Well, there's nothing improper anymore, right? And so they're not going to be involved in this. And I agree with you 100%. You've got some of that in your background. And that once the money starts talking with the television and those schools are able to coalesce and form something that is that economically big, the NCAA will have nothing to do with the power football. Nothing.
Yes, sir. Coach Mack, our guest here on Blaine and Mickey, as he is same time every week.
Well, Coach Mack, I'm always curious since the teams that are being run, at least by Vrabel under his stint with the Titans, are being a physical smash-a-mouth in this era, run the football on the offensive side of the ball. How much when training camp starts will you have your O-line banging sooner than later, much more with the full pads? Because the only way you can practice to be physical is to practice with the pads. And you want to start off on a good foot because I think it affects the lineman more than anything, and not just offensive, I'm just linemen in general. What are your thoughts on when you're a physical team, how much you kind of weigh in on what you can and how soon do you wear the full pads?
Well, they will do it. As soon as they put the pads on, they're going to do it. And I'll tell you something else too, Blaine, that this year, I don't know if it's been talked about before, but those protective caps that you see a lot of people wearing on their helmets, they're going to wear them in the National Football League for linebackers and for defensive and offensive linemen this year for practice.
Oh, okay.
Especially early on during training camp because their data has shown that that's when the most concussions happen, and those positions are where the concussions happen. And so during that part, they will wear those. But you ask me about pads, they will pad up and go. That's just what he's done since he's been here. And most teams are doing it now during their training camp time, Blaine, because during the season you can only wear pads 14 times, during the season. And so you've got to get that work in at that time. And as I said, for a safety measure, they're going to bring those caps in during training camp, early on. But, you're going to see that. You'll see that from the Titans, and you'll see it from most teams. You'll see it when those two teams get together here that we're going to practice against.
And lastly, for me, I guess if Burks is not ready or is not healthy or whatever the situation may be, he's not on the field. Who do you see stepping up to the plate? Because you got some options here with some young players. Who do you kind of see starting to ease his way out up to the ladder besides Malone, who's kind of a veteran, but a younger player that they actually drafted through the Titans organization?
Well, I think Fitzpatrick needs to step up this year. He needs to step up this year. I mean, that was a fourth-round pick that was cut, and then then made it through waivers and came back, and I think grew up quite a bit mentally as far as to what it was going to take to play in this league, and he looked much better. During the OTA. So you ask me about a guy that's a guy that's going to step up. I expect Traylon Burks to be there, but you ask me about a guy, Des Fitzpatrick. This is a big training camp for him. It's important for him because if you want to make a move, you only have a certain amount of time to make the move in this league, as you well know.
No doubt about it. Better seize the moment. I guess last to me, a fun question: most underrated defensive and offensive player in Titans history.
In Titans history.
Underrated, that they were really good. I mean, great players to a certain extent that, people just, don't really mention the name. I thought of Nate Washington and Arakpo on offense, but, I mean, I think people think of those guys, but they were better than people, think, though. They were better than
I tell you somebody that was a good player that people think was just a returner but was a good player is Mark Mariani.
Oh,
wow, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mariani was a legit player.
Oh, he was special now.
Yeah, well, yeah, and he was tough as a boot. He was a really good player, and another player, that I coached that was a really good player that didn't get talked about a lot was Stephen Tulloch.
Tully,
I mean,
Tully was a tackling machine.
He was a tackling machine, and he made a lot of plays. Now he was lined up in between two really good players, in Keith Bullock and David Thornton. But Tully made himself a really good linebacker because when he first came out of NC State, he was just a see-ball, get-ball, rat-ball player. He developed into a really good middle linebacker in this league.
No doubt about it. We're on with Coach Mack, giving us the Mack attack.
Coach, I remember going in a locker room interviewing Tully after they drafted him sometime in training camp and him saying, we said, fourth-round pick, you're going to find your way. He goes, hey, y'all can stop right there. I'm not here to do anything but start. I'm going to start. I mean, you all want to talk about me starting? Like, that's that guy's attitude coming in. We were like, ooh.
Yeah, well, and you know what? And that hurt him for a little while because he wasn't a great special teams player.
Right.
Right. And he needed to do that, and he didn't like it. And I told him, I said, Tully, look, you're going to have to learn to do that just a little bit, until you can get your feet on the ground. I'll tell you who he's a really good friends with that gave me a really good insight on him because Jim Schwartz and I really pushed hard to get him drafted. That was when the fourth round was on the second day of the draft. Mm-hmm. You had your first three rounds and you had your 4 through 7. And so, we really pushed to get him because the next morning, because it was important for us to at least get a guy, that we thought would have a chance. And of course, he had all the size things going against him, and he had a really bad workout at the combine because may have been one of the worst 40s I've ever seen somebody run because he had no idea how to start or anything, but he could play ball. He could play ball, and that was important. But Andre Wadsworth, he and Andre Wadsworth were good friends. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I'd had Andre at the Cardinals, and Andre told me, Coach, you'll love it because he loves ball, and he was right.
Well, he was a lot of fun to watch, that's for sure. Coach, fantastic stuff. Can't wait to talk to you next week as we get, the rookies report on the 23rd. We're like 2.5 weeks out. Can't wait to talk about that and more.
Ask Blaine right there what it's like as a player. Once the 4th of July passes, it's all fast downhill to training camp now.
Oh, my man was all ball.
Ooh.
And there it is. You're downhill after the 4th of July. It goes so fast. So, it's on top of us, guys.
There you go. Coach Mack, we'll talk to you next week.
Guys.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. The one and only Coach Mack. All right. He was talking about McNair. I saw you post about him yesterday. Got me thinking. I texted Rep Ryan. I said, you got any special McNair audio we could play on the way out today? And, of course, RB is in the studio. I got goosebumps thinking about it. He goes, yeah, I got something. Yeah. We're going to hear from some Mac 9.
Yeah, no doubt. And then we'll have to ask him, best to know, underrated Tennessee Titan player, offensive, defensive player. Probably a lot of people don't talk about all the time. Just like we just asked Coach Mack. I said Nate, and he said Tulloch and Mariani. I said Nate Washington and Arakpo.
And we're going to throw that question out on Blaine and Mickey Twitter, and we're going to hit this hard tomorrow. But a little tribute to Steve McNair when we come back. Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone. We'll get to this. Do you want to answer the question first, Rip Bryan?
Let's do the question
executive
first.
producer. So Blaine threw this out to Coach Mack. We'll put this on Blaine and Mickey Twitter because I'm super curious to get everybody's thoughts on this. Like all-time underrated offense and defense Titan, not Oiler. We'll go Titans era. Coach Mack brought up Mariani, which one day we were having a discussion about special teams. Mariani still holds the one-year record all-time for kickoff return yardage. And this was like Billy White Shoes Johnson in the history of the team, who's one of the best of all time. Mariani's is the 1 year leader in kick return yardage.
Yeah.
So all-time underrated, and that's a special teams guy, but offense and defense guy for you.
I'm going to point to two guys who came in at the same period of time and were veterans when this team needed, post 2005 salary cap purge, and they needed guys to show other guys how to be pros. And on offense, it'd be Kevin Mawai, and on defense, it'd be Chris Hope. Very underrated in both of their respects because they came in and saw a very young team and showed those guys how to be pros. And they had some good little runs right there now. They kind of got them out of the doldrums after a couple of years there. And they were very
Ravens
important.
Lost game, right? With that group of guys.
Yep.
Yeah, they turned the toe. Yeah, they
Yep.
did.
So that would be my answer on both of those.
Well, you've seen them all. So, when you talk about it, that comes from the voice of experience. So I texted you, Coach Mack and Blaine. Blaine asked Coach Mack for some, what some of your favorite memories of Steve McNair. And for people who are Titans fans, on the 4th of July, 2009, Steve McNair, a day that will live forever with Titans fans. As his life was taken that day. Blaine got to play with him and tells fantastic stories, as he does, about all of his teammates.
Sure.
He tells great stories about Steve, but I thought, man, it'd be fun just to remember him because the 4th of July has never been the same to me since then. I'll never forget that day.
It's my worst holiday as an adult.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's 13 years.
I know.
Yeah.
But we had a very good friend of ours at church that their daughter was killed in a car wreck that afternoon on I-40 in Bellevue. And that's so it's like double whammy. But yeah, 4th of July it's different for me since then.
And you wish that he would be out there in his Titans jersey, like when Blaine stuck the sword in the ground.
Oh my gosh, I'd give anything.
You want to see him out there and just soaking all this in because whatever you got here, Blaine and Steve and Freak and Frank and Bruce, they built it. Everything that's happening.
They are Generation 1 cornerstone building blocks. Titans.
Eddie George, Chris Sanders, all those guys. So it'd be fantastic. Derek Mason, we could go on. And it would be great to see Steve getting to just sit back and enjoy all this. But with Steve, we got memories. And I thought, boy, the keeper of the memories is the Titans radio guy across the hall.
The keeper of the memories.
You are, man. You keep them all stored up for all of us. And whether you're telling the stories or playing the audio, courtesy of Mike Keith and his great calls, or whether it's, whatever, you're the guy that kind of keeps literally the flame. There's a logo that's a flame, and you kind of keep it all for us. So can you tell us what you got and what it is that we're going to hear, the tribute to Steve?
To set it up properly, this is a pre-produced piece. I think Larry Stone put this together years ago. But anyway, this is what I do believe one of his finest moments as a Titan. It put him on a national map with royalty in the NFL. If you didn't already know the name Steve McNair, and if you watched enough Alcorn State games his last year before he came out, you'd know him for sure. But it's December the 1st, 2002 at the Meadowlands against Kerry Collins and the Giants. And I believe this is the precursor moment that put him on the map that made him co-MVP in the next season with Peyton Manning. So it's the final 2-minute drive kind of chopped up. You'll hear the late Mike Heimerdinger in this. You'll hear from Frank. You'll hear from Jeff Fisher. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff in here. And Mike, and then the then color analyst who's on the University of Tennessee broadcast now, Pat Ryan. So here we go.
Ooh.
2 minutes to go in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
When Steve has a slightly off day, he typically comes back and answers. And, boy, I'll tell you what, you saw it firsthand what he's capable of doing.
McNair from the gun on 2nd and 4. throws, got it to Wycheck, complete for the first down. McNair throws quickly. He's got it to Mason, who can't get out of bounds. McNair with 1:15 now. Snaps it, fires. Mason's got it at the 46 with his first down. McNair from the gun takes a snap. Fires deep downfield down the right side for Simon. He's there. Incomplete.
Oh, that's a flag.
No penalty thrown. Big 3rd and 10 upcoming. McNair quick throw. Berlin at the 40 and down. He's got the first down. Clock running. 42 seconds to go. McNair facing a 3-man rush. Pressure coming. He steps up. He gets away. He's going to run. 35. McNair 30. Trying to get to the sidelines. Out of bounds.
Your crowd's booing because they let Steve McNair break contains. Obviously, they hadn't seen his act much before because he does that routinely.
McNair fires right side. Bennett 20, 15, and he's down at the 9. 14 seconds to go. McNair takes the snap. Looks. Fires into the end zone. Caught! That should be a touchdown. Wycheck's got the ball in the end zone. They're talking about it. Touchdown, Titans! I can't figure out why there was no signal.
They're checking to see if he really caught the football.
After reviewing the play, there is not indisputable visual evidence with which to overturn the call on the field. Therefore, that call will stand. It is a touchdown.
Steve hung with me. I turned around. The ball was already in flight, and he put it in a place where no one else could get it but me. And fortunately, I got my hand underneath it, and it was a clean catch.
McNair takes the snap. Quarterback draw. He's in there. 2 for Tennessee.
It's a play that we've practiced, and it's a pass-run option. And if we get everybody to walk out and give us the lead draw, we figure that's as good as anybody to carry that ball 2 yards and get it in.
We've got a tie ball game.
Will be 15-minute overtime. The first team that scores wins.
And you knew he was just in his zone.
McNair dropping, throwing, caught. Going out of bounds after making the catch is Bennett at the 32.
So much for practice. Am I complaining all week that he didn't have practice?
McNair drops the snap, picks it up, throws right side. There's Simon at the 41. He gets away. 45, 50, 45 and out of bounds. AM South, first down, Tennessee. What a move! Young John Simon.
We designed a couple in the dirt and took advantage of some things they were doing. Some guys made some good plays.
Give the ball Holcomb, 30, 25, 20, and he's down at the 19.
They gave us a blitz, and he cut it back away from the blitz and got us the 15 yards we needed.
Snap, set, kick on the way. Good! The Titans come from behind and steal one at the Meadowlands.
There it is. Some vintage Titans.
Boy, the voices in that too, and everybody.
And he had that keeper for the 2-pointer to tie it up with. He had busted ribs. He had a high ankle.
Yeah.
He couldn't hardly breathe. I remember going to the locker room, and Floyd Reese about that time came in, and I thought he was going to die. He couldn't breathe. He was in so much pain, and he was just amazing. He was amazing.
Yeah, he definitely was the toughest player I've ever played with. I've never seen a guy do some of the things he's done, especially at that kind of level. And to do it over and over again without practicing and in such pain, and in a lot of different games too, by the way. But he was a guy that, regardless of how he was playing throughout a game, at the end, man, he was money. If the game was on the line, he definitely had confidence he can get it done. He did it time and time again.
And Blaine, he was never too high, never too low, always right there, even keeled. Yeah. And I think about what he became and developed into a passer with the tutelage of Mike Heimerdinger in that offense. And it makes me think about the what ifs with Malik Willis down the road. Because Malik wasn't asked to do a lot of those things in college, kind of like Steve McNair was not asked to do a lot of those things in college. And Steve applied it and became the MVP of the National Football League. It's amazing.
If there was any justice, he would have won the Heisman Trophy. He was third, I believe, and this is at Alcorn State.
Right.
At a 1AA school, and he should have won.
I started watching him. ESPN2 would start airing his games the deeper it got into this college football season for his Heisman campaign. He went to UT Chattanooga and destroyed the Mocs by himself. Yeah. I want to say he had between 600 and 700 yards total offense and like 8 touchdowns. It was amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure I watched that one too.
I was like, good Lord. And he'd just go down and score, and he'd do the Heisman. So I'm like, this guy is a one-man wrecking crew.
Well, Blaine, the greatest thing you always talk about is, there was a particular game and it happened, and maybe he'd be off in the first half, he'd be off in the third quarter, and he would just walk down and tell y'all, I got this.
Mm-hmm. Well, the game that comes to mind in all his games is that Rams game in the regular season, and he had been off with the back surgery, and he comes off. It might have been third quarter, but it might have been second quarter, and I was like, man, come on, man, you gotta pick it up, man. It's 3 and out, man. We're getting tired over here. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'm just now getting loose. Huh?
And this was on Halloween Day.
Yeah.
The Rams
like,
were undefeated.
Loose, My back's about broke out here, man. These dudes is the greatest show on turf. Lucky we playing them on grass.
Halloween Day at the stadium in 99. The Rams were undefeated. The Titans, you guys had only dropped one at that point.
Yeah.
And my goodness.
That second half, he got the rust out of the way.
That was the day you guys made Fred Miller jump off about 7 or 8 times offsides.
He became false start Freddie.
We can say we, but I can say the freak did.
Yeah.
Hey, you were out there. In my mind, y'all all made it happen.
Yeah, we did. Well, it was actually the freak and the fans because they was loud and it used to be rocking.
House of Fire.
Yeah, it did.
Rhett, thank you, man. Thank you for doing that.
No doubt.
Man, 9, we miss you.
You got me lit now, man. I'm ready to go.
Well, I'm going to have to go watch me some highlights, get lost in some of that again. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us today. Fantastic stuff. 3HL, they got you next. They'll get you the rest of the way home.
Well, in the meantime.
In between time. Peace.